Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, uncut, no, live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Arwin, Neil, Paul, John, Curvature I should say, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Struggling today, huh?
Hello, good afternoon.
I was putting a drink down as I just mistimed in the intro end as I was having a sip of my Coke. That was all that was. Good start to the week. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
Yes, the boat was on land.
Are you referring to last week's show with Ruhif?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice if it's 2017 and we all inferred a physical geometric sphere edge horizon at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Alas, Black Swan, 2020, almost 4 years old now.
Well, doesn't the dip angle correction increase as you raise in altitude? So wouldn't that be proof that Earth's a sphere?
No, it'd be proof Earth's flat. The dip angle correction would be with respect to surface level or eye level. The ground when making that correction will be parallel with whatever you're referencing to do that dip correction. If you're referencing that to your eye level, then, well, number one, if you were doing it to the eye level, you'd be probably doing it with a bubble sextant, so there'd be no need to make a dip correction. But if you were doing it at sea with a sextant and making the correction to put your eyes effectively on the water with that correction, then you're going to be referencing the surface level to do the angle measurement that you need it for. So how does that in any way imply or infer a sphere when it's only useful for measuring angles and things of that nature? Establishing a horizontal plane of reference, in other words. That's proving Earth's flat.
Well, the flat earthers who believe it's flat say that the horizon is your eye level.
I see. This is something we're going to have to correct. So this is going to be the main theme of today's show, although it's going to have whatever the last show was in terms of title and thumbnail. That can only be corrected after we've made the show because they're live and we don't know necessarily what we're going to be talking about until we do. So in the meantime, you know, that's what the thumbnail is, but it isn't going to match. So that's always the case, by the way. Anyway, moving forward in this subject, we have a battle on our hands with what I'm going to call Feast of Nonsense rhetoric. And we have progressed to the point where we can prove it's flat now. When we were early in this subject, when we first arrived, we were asked, what's your flat earth proof? And very, very seldom did anybody who was out there provide any. They offered up their beliefs. They offered up their debunkings for heliocentrism. Some of them were good, some of them weren't so good. Some of them have stuck around. But what people didn't do is prove it's flat. Until very recently. Now, there are your exceptions to the rule, and Quantum Eraser's had a whole bunch of flat earth proofs on his website for quite some time. But in terms of the standard, proving Earth's flat with a practical application of a flat earth measurement, we can do that now. Therefore, we need to expand out to all of the people who may have deserted us because they didn't like the way we spoke on the show. That's something else. One of my moderators is displeased with the way I have been with various different reaction videos, and I need to contact that moderator to set that straight, because I am very proud of my choice of moderators in this show. And if one of them's displeased, I see them as my representative, and therefore if they're displeased, I'm displeased, regardless of if their displeasure is directed at me. That's something that I will have to correct, because my moderators are quite literally a representation of several thousand people in terms of their attitudes and opinions. Therefore, they're my moderator, and they are, I gauge my audience with them in terms of how they are displeased. But it means I've got a link to somebody that can be seen as representative of a lot of other people when they are displeased, to see if I can correct things that may not be correct about the show in terms of how it's presented. It's all a work in progress, right? Anyway, we have to defeat the Feast of Nonsense rhetoric that has been around since day one for everybody who's currently here. I don't think there are any exceptions. I can't think of anybody who was here before the first wave, Math Powerland notwithstanding. Well, because of that, most of the stuff that goes out into the mainstream, if you want to call it that, or even into the low level of YouTube at the high end, is 2014, 15, 16, 17 garbage arguments that don't prove it's flat. Well, we need to get it out to our own kind in some way or another and expand it out from here forth to new people with the right arguments. Ones that they can take back to their loved ones, where they don't end up in a row because they're being told that they just have an opener mind enough because they don't understand how this complicated orbital motion doesn't really work in reality, therefore Earth's flat. Most people get annoyed with that, and that's probably why people have fell out with loved ones. Well, as a route from here, if you understood it to be measured flat and you could just tell a loved one that very calmly, if they didn't accept it, that's on them. You're not asking them to believe anything. Well, that's where you have less arguments, and people might be indignant at their own disbelief at the fact that Earth's measured flat, but that's all it'll be, as opposed to their indignance at you forcing your belief onto them, which is what has happened until now. So we have an obligation, I feel, in this community, which we are in whether we bloody well like it or not. It's unfortunate, that's just how it is, to pass on the better information. Say the time is up. We don't need to express our beliefs anymore. I have no belief in flat Earth. None. Earth is flat. That's how it's dealt with. That's how it's measured. And we can prove it. So let's be a bit more confident about that fact and stand by it moving forward. Now, there are going to be people who are left in our wake, potentially, that do not want to move on from the Feast of Nonsense arguments that they have familiarised themselves with. That is unfortunate. But they will be, quite literally, left behind. Because moving forward, proving Earth is flat has a much better ring to it. Any comments? No? Shout out to Tony Whitcomb for the super chat. Says, just a thank you to all on the panel. Well, they can get the thanks. I will keep the money, Tony. I am really poor. Thank you for the super chat. No, I really do sincerely appreciate it. Any evidence? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. We have got some comments. Go ahead.
I was going to say a lot of it is going to be to dealing with the red herrings that are fired back when you point out how it's measured, like the one I brought up at the beginning of the show. It's a red herring in and of itself, but it deals with a false claim that a flat earther is making who doesn't understand, and they play upon that to try to prove a globe, but it doesn't prove a globe.
That will be, in essence, part of the advanced stuff that we do get or stay into as we're discussing stuff on Flat Earth debate moving forward. That is to say, it's not the simplest thing in the world to understand how a glober is putting forth a flat Earth measurement to assert that Earth is proven spherical, and how a flat earther will often also offer a flat Earth measurement and then potentially juxtapose it with a globe Earth measurement that's the same, but fails for the flat earther for whatever reason, leaving a flat Earth measurement proving a globe in false dichotomy. Now, those are quite advanced arguments to understand that you've fallen victim to if you do fall victim to them. But if you were keeping up to date with the flat Earth debate, you'll learn about fallacies and you'll learn about false dichotomies as part of that process. So it's not necessarily the case that understanding how Earth is measured flat will leave you with an ability to suddenly overcome all globe claimants' positions that they put forth to you. There's a lot more to it. But what it does do is cement you in a place where you don't have to fret and stress and worry about whether or not you're wrong. You can know you're right, and if you choose to investigate beyond knowing Earth is measured flat, that's up to you. If you choose to figure out how you've been deceived into being on a ball if you're a Western world occupant, then that's on you. You can do that too. But you don't need to anymore. There was a very definite requirement to move forward constantly through Feast of Nonsense garbage to hopefully find a really good silver bullet proof. That's what we used to get asked for. Where's your silver bullet proving flat Earth? Well, it's measured flat. Now you know. Don't need to go into any of the conjectures about what the sun might be, what the sky might be, or the mapping of the ground that's beneath your feet in terms of how those maps that already come to pass have been manipulated and gerrymandered. They've been done so by way of an established grid system that was measured off a flat plane. Once you know these facts, you know Earth's flat. Not believe, not require an open mind about 9/11, but know it's measured flat. And that's really all you require. Your intentions to debate family members who insist that they have a gravity force that's not a force that you can think of as a force that went out of date 108 years ago and has been replaced by pseudo force space-time. You'll learn that too here. But ultimately, knowing it's measured flat should be the predominant point that we move forward with, because that's the most important thing, isn't it? Relinquishing people of their flat Earth belief may or may not happen. We may just leave people in our wake in this regard moving forward from this day. Bold words, Nathan. Indeed.
Hear, hear.
Now let's move on with another housekeeping question. We might cover a video today. There's something I do want to cover from YouTube's terms of service that I thought was quite amusing. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Okay then. Well, that's good to know. We'll just move on without even having to know. Nobody's going to claim stars are rotating. Fine. We'll move on. Okie dokie. I read this as part of the terms of service and I thought it was very amusing. It contextually has a point around it, which is to say that there's a prevalence of people who are literally producing AI content with artificial intelligence, either for the script, for the videography itself, the stills, whatever it may be. People are using AI to produce videos, and YouTube want people to be aware that what's being presented may not necessarily be natural. It may be synthetic, and that could be better off disclaimed rather than people pumping out crap that's just been produced by a computer. To whatever extent they have had to interfere with that is a different matter, but this is the words that YouTube have to say of it. Over the coming months, we'll introduce updates that inform viewers when their content they're seeing is synthetic. Specifically, we'll require creators to disclose when they've created, altered, or synthetic content that is realistic, including using AI tools when creators upload content. We will have new options for them to select to indicate that it contains realistic, altered, or synthetic material. End quote.
Will that apply to NASA?
I hoped I didn't put the question out, and I haven't right up until this moment when I put this in the Skype chat. I thought, how many seconds will it be before someone asks about NASA? Because I don't want to be the first to say it. I want to see how quickly someone says, oh, right, so if we're watching something that is from a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, couldn't possibly be real, had to be computer generated, will they disclose that? It's real because it looks so fake. I wonder if Starman would have to have that disclosure on it, because that's unequivocally not real. There is no Starman in a Tesla out in a sky vacuum that violates second law of thermodynamics. But would they have to tick that box in YouTube, I ask myself? I doubt it. One rule for thee and one rule for me. Shout out to Shatner's Bassoon. Up the FED panel, please share the show. I should have done that call to action. I do it in the intro, right? Thank you for the super chat. Any other comments on that? Man, I thought you were all warmed up in the pre-show. Is there something more nerve-wracking about being live, perhaps?
No, I think it's the shock of NASA having to put their images are altered. The idea that might be seeking in.
They do it anyway. I mean, back before I was a flat earther, I still am actually. I've just never bothered unsubscribing to Science at NASA. Close your ears, QE, if you're listening. Well, Science at NASA are like a subscription-based thing. Not subscription, like a newsletter type thing with emails and all that sort of stuff. And they update you when they've got a new video, like you'd expect, right? But it's just a bit more. But back when I was a globe believer, I was quite keen to see the images from space, the real photographs from space. And every single time I got a Science at NASA update email, and I'd go to their video or their website, wherever it is they were directing me to look at this information, I was always left with this really empty, hollow feeling because you never got anything real. And it was always fairly prominently disclaimed as not being real. You go and check. You know, you won't find that they've labeled up something that's clearly artificially generated by them as a rendered image or whatever they disclaim it as. It does always disclaim it. Now, relatively eagle-eyed me, I'm not. It's just that I trained in editing at college, and when I did, you notice things like the little Ashtons that flash up at the bottom and declare something that you may not necessarily pay too much attention to if you're overwhelmed with the wow, look, a satellite flying around around Saturn, or whatever it is they're pretending to show you from outer space, a sky vacuum, violation of a law of nature, entropy. Well, it would disclaim it. So, in the same way that we have very little that we can actually pin on them as being claimed to be a picture of, say, Earth from space, there's only one, right? The original blue marble. That's the only one they're claiming is quote-unquote real. But other than that, you'd be very hard pushed to actually pin NASA to not disclaiming when they've faked these images. Now, when it comes to the ISS, I don't know, I'm not that avid a watcher of the ISS. I know they use green screens, and they're doing it to create the image of this bubbles in space or whatever it is that they're floating around, and then microphones pass back and forth in zero G while they're all hanging on high wire. Well, would that come under this category, would you suggest? Do they have to disclaim that that's synthetic because they've got green screens on the ISS? They may just say, yeah, we have got green screens on the ISS. It's really handy. You know, when we're doing videos and stuff. Wouldn't you? If you were a videographer, you're a YouTuber and you got a bloody green screen. Why wouldn't we? We're NASA. Why wouldn't it be on the, you know, that would be the kind of tact that they would take if you were to expose that sort of stuff. But like I say, would you have to disclaim it? And even if they did, would it be any more detrimental than the disclaimers that they give already? I would suggest not, believe it or not.
I think it's just interesting to see that they actually put it below their videos, like the tramp stamp on Flat Earth. That would be interesting to see NASA with that stamp.
It would be so carefully phrased as to not be detrimental to NASA in any way, shape, or form, more than it already is. Like I say, the only reason I can describe the hollow feeling I had every time I left a Science at NASA link was because it was disclaimed to not be real. I'm like, oh, this will be good. They've gone out with NASA have gone out with these cameras on this rocket or whatever they're doing. I'm like, great, there's cameras on it. We'll definitely get some footage. No footage, no footage, no footage. Oh, right, here's some footage. Disclaimed as being rendering. No footage, no footage. Another set of videography. All right, it's disclaimed as being an artist rendering. End of article. Oh. There's the hollow feeling again. This was well before I was a flat earther. But like I say, because you'd see it all disclaimed. You'd read the reference material that they give you for each image, and you go to it and you check what it was. And sometimes, like you say, or I didn't say, sometimes you might find that it doesn't necessarily disclaim, but there's a well-cited link to where it's come from, and on that well-cited link, it'll really clearly document that it's not a real image. And you might think, okay, it's one step removed from them pretending that it's real on the front page of this article, but really they're not hiding it at all. You know, it's one link in, and they've published the link to show you that it definitely isn't real. So like I say, I don't think it would be to NASA's detriment. They're already geared up for this. They're too smart.
Hey, well, with the one photo, they do have that was, since they consider sea level to be the beginning of space, wherever it was taken technically from space. So it's not a lie, right? Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm getting at that they never provided anything that would be classed as being in the sky vacuum that wasn't disclaimed as being a rendering of some description. You know, that's what I'm saying. So even if they have to disclaim on YouTube that they've got synthetic material in their material, you go and find me one way you can say unequivocally, they're saying this is real and it ain't. You won't find many examples of that. Now, yeah, we all know that there's a moon landing, but they're not publishing that tomorrow, are they? And, you know, even if they were, they'd be saying, oh, yeah, this is absolutely real. Or maybe they wouldn't, I don't know. I would assume they're trying to bury that old crap, stop motion animation and old backdrops that's from 50s technology. I would imagine that they're hoping that will fade into obscurity more and more as time passes. Memory hold.
Well,
but that's AI. You're not talking about AI. Oh, hold on a sec. But you're not talking about AI rendered technology at that point. You're talking about pre-AI and stuff like that. So they won't have to disclaim that stuff. Is my point.
Well, it's synthetic. The word's synthetic. Backdrops are synthetic.
The difference, I remember losing faith in NASA years and years and years before I ever came to this topic. So I remember a point coming, and I remember saying this distinctly to people. Now, I lost faith in them way before this, but I remember distinctly making a point to someone. When the iPhone 5 was available, I said, and my father had one, and I said, if you can see this with the iPhone 5, you can video something this good with the iPhone 5. But yet the best at the time, if you go back to the type of footage that was coming out from NASA, was grainy black and white footage. I said, how come the best they can do with all their money is grainy black and white footage when an iPhone 5 is even better than what they're showing? Now, I wasn't saying they could use the iPhone 5 doing what they were claiming to do, but the point was that if the iPhone 5 can take video of this quality, then surely NASA can do better than grainy black and white images of an astronaut or some nonsense. See, that it's easy for them to say, just on the point of the moon landing, it's easy to say that's real because it is real. It just didn't happen on the moon. They can say this image is real or this video is a real video. It just didn't happen where they say it happened. Like there's a photograph of a painting called the Blue Marble. That is a real photograph of a real painting. So technically, it is real. It's just not. It's not real where they say it was, or taken where they say it was.
Right. It seems like they're going after the AI rendered material, like CGI, things of that nature.
Yes, and that contextually. They're not going to go after. Yeah, I did disclaim that before already. That is contextually how it's wrapped around this particular paragraph. But nevertheless, there's plenty of what currently stands as being presented as out in space in the sky vacuum that's riddled with CGI and passed off as being real. Now, maybe that's the double bluff here. Well, it's not being disclaimed as being a CGI rendering of something synthetic, so therefore it's, maybe that's the standard that they're going for. It's useful if you've got somebody trained to understand that if it is CGI, it's disclaimed as CGI. Therefore, when something's popping up from the ISS and there's no disclaimer, well, it must be real then. If you can train your monkeys that way, maybe that's what they're going for. I don't know, and it's interesting from a perspective of a feast of nonsense regurgitator to come at their NASA angle with, oh, right, you're not disclaiming that this is CGI and we can see there's a green screen and this is how the green screen fades out and the man in the background's fading out. It'll give our old school rhetoric compadres plenty to get their teeth into in that respect, while everyone else is just being brainwashed into, doesn't say it's CGI, therefore it's not CGI. We can just debunk the area it comes from, regardless of any disclaimers that the monkeys and the general populace are being trained with in that regard. You just say, oh, space is fake. Gas would fill the space. Oh, but there's no disclaimer. Okay, numpty, get on with your normie life. No worries. Entropy law doesn't mean much to you, fine. No problem. 70 watching, please share the show if you haven't done so already. Very warm welcome to all of you who have just joined us. 71 watching. Good to have you all. Yeah, moving forward, I want to shout it from the hilltops that we've got proof now. It makes sense to me that we should stamp out the Feast of Nonsense rhetoric with something better, rather than criticising the people who use Feast of Nonsense arguments and get trapped in false dichotomies with globe believers or anti-flat earthers. We should just go stomp out that by being better than it, by saying, yeah, we've got proof. Yeah, it's measured flat. Because it's really hard for hitting. It's really impactful. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
75 watching. Somebody's definitely smashed the share button. Massive thank you in advance, by the way, to all of you who do hit the share button. That's the only reason we get up to 100 people watching each show, because we're definitely not algorithmically favoured. That loves all going Simon Dan and Dave McKeegan and Professor Dave Explains way, if you do a search for this subject. So if we're going to shout it from the hilltops, I'm relying on you to be the hill that I'm standing on. It'll be your shoulders when you smash the share button. So thank you in advance. So I met Tinfoil Hatman on Friday. Very, very nice chap indeed. Adam was supposed to be there, as was Sleeping Warrior. Neither were there. They both let me down at the last minute.
Oh, it was a bit short notice for me. Otherwise, I'd have loved to have piled over. But I was at work still, so I just couldn't get locums. But good curry?
Not really.
Oh.
We don't live in a curry town. So, obviously, Tinfoil Hatman's from a part of the country where there's plenty of good curry houses. I'm familiar with where he's from without doxing him. But he's got plenty of good choice of curry houses. And when he was ordering, I'm from Birmingham originally, and there's probably the best selection of curry houses anywhere in the country in Birmingham. Or at least when I lived there, that was the way it was. So you get quite fussy about how you'll order and what you'll order from an Indian restaurant. And you know what you like and how you want the recipe to be, particularly like you've got it from your own favourite curry house. So you'll express that to the waiter if you know what you're doing with curry, which I do. And Tinfoil Hatman immediately started getting fussy. I'm like, this is a man from a place where there's lots of curry. Because he's quite particular, as I am, right? Anyway, the point is, yeah, the curry was crap because we're not in a curry town. So there's not strength of competition to keep the curry really, really good. So it's just average. I'm sure if you're from this town where I am in Leamington, people would say, oh, that's a wonderful curry house. Yeah, it's all right. Anyway, that wasn't the point. It was more the fact that there was Craig and I, the guy who runs the computer shop, the guy keeping my computer ticking over, and a couple of his mates who are regular customers of his, but now friends in the same way I am. Neither of them are flat earthers, and they're there as skeptics to the general discussion. And another guy came along. Now, he's the guy I'm going to focus on. And again, I'm not going to mention who he was, but if he's listening in, he may realise I'm talking about him. He started telling me about Antiquitech and the ether. He was the only one that was there going, oh yeah, I know it's flat. All right, okay, you're already a flat earther. Yeah. Brilliant. And obviously some of his 2015 Feast of Nonsense arguments came out about his flat earth belief. And again, over a curry, I didn't have the heart to tell him. Like, fair enough, there's bigger fish to fry here because there's two globe believers opposite me. Yeah, he then proceeded to tell me about Antiquitech and how the churches were powered by the aerials that have been feeding the electricity from the ether, and old photographs have got the sky all blacked out because they don't want you to see the aerials all giving the power to the buildings.
The old Vanilla Skies conspiracy theory on it. Right?
Can't ruin a curry over that.
Well, I didn't want to ruin it. The guy was really sweet and a really nice guy, and I didn't want to ruin his evening by disagreeing with him on that in person. Now, that may sound hypocritical to people who are listening, but like I say, when there's a choice of going after the globe believers who are telling me gas go down, go boom boom, which is what we got into at one point in the meal, I was quite insistent and indignant with the guy opposite. No, which gravity? Oh, here we go. You could see him shrinking, but prepared to stand his ground about what gravity was, and that went nowhere quickly. Obviously, got shut down by me. Well, meanwhile, there's a side conversation going on about ether and ether belief, and which one am I going to choose? Are you going to pick your battles when there's 6 or 7 people around a table, aren't you?
Correct.
Have they got a natural phenomenon yet, Nathan? That isn't already something else?
Ooh, the gravity believers or the ether believers?
Either.
And no, unless Adam emissary to the Ethereans can tell us otherwise.
No, we're still waiting for naturally occurring phenomena.
Yeah, that's where it all begins. And it only begins there because they're asserting scientific validity for both gravity and ether.
I posted a
The
video
only
earlier,
thing
Nathan.
occurring,
Hold on, Brian. Go ahead, Neil.
the only thing occurring over and over and over is them talking about ether.
Yeah,
Right.
well, Neil, you actually are correct. That is the only thing that's occurring over. He's correct. That's 100% correct. That's the only thing that is consistently recurring, which is concerning them, which is they're talking about it. What I was going to say is, because you're talking about gravity as well, is that I posted a video earlier. It's only 26 seconds long. And this guy posted it to me as a supposed debunk of air not having weight. This is supposed to prove that air does have weight. It's absolutely pathetic. There's even people in the comments, even one guy in the comment section who is obviously a globe believer. Even he is saying it's bad, kind of in his own words.
Okay, let's just get that correct in terms of the summary of what this is supposed to be demonstrating. So, based on the notion that gas go down, go boom, boom, because it's pulled to the earth by gravity, when in reality gas is produced at ground level and expands out and up, dissipating in line with entropic law as it expands in all directions. And if the sky was a vacuum, it would continue to expand into that area of volume, leaving us with no gas to breathe. The way they get around this argument is to say, no, gas has weight. Gas go down, go boom, boom. There's great big oxygen and water vapor factories in the sky pouring out gas like rain. There isn't, but gas go down, go boom, boom is their rebuttal, as absurd as that seems. Okay, so that is the preamble, if you will, to this video. Okay, is there anything else I need to add before I press play, Brian? Do I need sound as well?
I don't. There was some silly music playing. I don't know if there's any copyright on it, but I don't think there. It's just 26 seconds anyway, so it's less than 30 seconds. So it's less than a short.
Is there anything useful beyond the music?
No.
Okay, well then I won't put it on. Okay, so we've got, for anybody who's not watching, like people listening only, got a balloon on a ruler with another balloon that's empty. So a full balloon and an empty balloon. What did I miss? I'm sorry, where was the demonstration? What did I miss? What am I missing? Brian, fill me in. Inflate a balloon.
Sorry, my hands were wet. I couldn't get to the phone. What you're missing is the very start of it. That's why I said it's 26 seconds long. He shows he has a few balloons, a ruler, and a few elastic bands. And what the ruler is supposed to be is a scale.
Oh.
And here's something stuck on the top of the ruler. And it's even from the angle that they're taking it at, I can't even say for certain that the ruler is going down to one side or not. But the whole thing is so horrendous. Even a baller in the comments is saying, "No, this is not the way to show what you're trying to show." Do you know what I mean? It's terrible. This is supposed to be...
Right, Adam, you there? You got a sec?
All right.
I'm just back. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, so I hate to disagree with you, Brian. I'm not disagreeing with you in principle, but if you're gonna weigh gas, you can squeeze more stuff, that's the gas, into a confined space. Now, what that will do is increase the pressure. Now, you can admirably show that there is definitely more stuff in the balloon because it's stretched out, i.e. the pressure alludes to the fact that there is more stuff in the balloon because it's now at a higher pressure. Okay, would you agree so far, Brian? There's got to be more air in the balloon because it's exhibiting stretching of the container, therefore must be at high pressure. There must be more air in the balloon than outside the balloon. Would you agree?
Yeah, there is.
Therefore, the quantity of stuff in the balloon, in a very crude way, is higher in the yellow balloon than the outside air. Say again?
It's a higher density of air than the outside air. An air-filled balloon will go down, you see. This is the joke.
No, I didn't use the word density. Let's not get into that wrangle-dangle. I'm going to say that you can
Yeah, but
infer
that's the
that there's
answer.
more stuff in
No,
the
it's
yellow
not.
balloon.
There's more
Hold on,
molecules.
everyone's talking through me. You can infer there's more stuff in the yellow balloon because it is factually demonstrating a higher pressure. Would you agree?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, obviously.
Okay. And in terms of how we quantify solids in air, you can demonstrate a difference with a scale. Would you agree?
Yes.
Therefore, although crude, this would show how you can bastardize a convention of weight and quite literally and figuratively force gases into that convention by way of containment. Would you agree?
No.
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 Why
No.
not?
No way.
Why not?
Because you're now outside of the convention. You might try and kid yourself that you've maintained the rules of the convention, but you haven't.
We're talking
Yeah,
about
if you have, you
the
won't have
convention
to
of
have
weight.
a balloon with
Hold on,
closed top.
just for the audience's benefit, Brian, we're talking specifically about the convention of weight. That's the displacement of solids or contained liquids in air.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
So, in your container, if it was a liquid or a solid, all of the molecules that you're trying to weigh would be exerting their pressure downwards, yeah, or against the side, which will then go down. But as soon as you're dealing with a gas, you're all. I ask the question rather than make a statement. Are all of the molecules applying their pressure downwards?
No.
No. Well, if they're not, then we can't call it weight because the convention of weight. That's one of the prerequisites. The other one is it needs to be in the medium of air.
But am I not bastardizing the convention to the extent that it makes sense to a globe believer when I show that when forcing gases into a container, increasing their pressure, the container can be weighed and demonstrate, like this balloon has demonstrated, that there is an increase in weight in that convention?
No, you can't use the term. There's not an increase in weight.
The container got heavier.
The reading on the scales will change because of what you've done, but you're not allowed to call that weight because it's not weight. It doesn't fit the description of weight. Yeah. All you can do is look at the person and go, look at that mental person trying to weigh gas on scales. Yeah. And he thinks because the numbers change on his scale that he's weighing gas.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's not correct, Nathan.
Oh, I realise that. Brian. Thank you. Go on. Off you go.
Yeah, the reason the reason I sent you that was it was a big ad hoc scales that someone made up, and they're just using the fact that an air-filled balloon will go down in air because there is a greater density of air in the balloon. There's a greater amount of air in the balloon, so an air-filled balloon goes down. You know, a carbon dioxide balloon goes down, but a carbon monoxide balloon or a helium balloon, these kind of ones, they go up. So it's a density differential issue with the medium and what the balloon is in. But the real joke was the scales. There was a ruler thing, which is there's no scales. That was why I was saying it. Like this was supposed to debunk. This is supposed to be a debunk of vacuum weights being more than air weights. It's like the whole I don't know why these people are trying to debunk that because it's a known thing within industry. You know what I mean? They know about this in industry. And that was why I sent it to you or I put it in Master B. Sorry, and I said it to you because there is no debunking that. You can't debunk something that's just a fact in reality. But that's what they're trying to do with this stupid ruler as a weight, as a scales. It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is terrible. It's just the patheticness of it and the stupidness of it is the reason I sent it to you.
Indeed. Any more comments on this?
Well, why is it that they think that an air-filled balloon, which is a greater density of air within the balloon, greater amount of air within the balloon, greater pressure than what's on the outside, why do they think that going down somehow is weight having or air having weight? Because all I've gotten in the comments on my vacuum weights video, the shorts video I made. All I've ever gotten is buoyancy. And we create buoyancy. And they're trying to come at me with the buoyancy formula, which is a heap of nonsense. So buoyancy is not, weight is an apparent effect of buoyancy. More buoyancy, less weight. Less buoyancy, more weight. It's that simple. But they keep on trying to say buoyancy. So not weight then. Because I can weigh water without having a lid on the top of the container. But I can't weigh a gas without having the top of the container sealed. Can I? Because you can't weigh a gas. It can't be done. All you're doing is the extra pressure that's hitting the bottom of the canister, and any liquefaction of the gas due to pressures that would be happening at the bottom of the container. That's all you're getting, with the exception of the weight of the container. You're not getting anything else. That's what's on the scales. You're not weighing the gas. It can't be done.
No, you're working outside of the convention of weight, in essence. But in terms of that demonstration, you remove the weight. You remove the air from a vacuum chamber with something on a scale, and the weight increases. Brian?
Sorry?
You remove...
Yeah, the weight increases. The weight increases because the only thing that air is given to an object is buoyancy. It's not given any extra weight. So the weight increases. Because what they get mixed up with, Nathan, is, and I said it to him, I've said it only
before
today.
Before you tell us what we get mixed up with, this is concluding the point that we're discussing. So in terms of what gravity with gas go down, go boom, boom, what's the effect on the demonstration that you're describing? You've got an item, let's call it an apple, and it's in a vacuum, and you remove all the air. Well, the weight of that apple will increase on the scale. Whereas according to gas go down, go boom, boom, the weight of the gas is pressing down on the apple when it's inside with the apple. That's to say the gas, the air that we're breathing, should be pressing down also if gas go down, go boom, boom. Therefore, when you remove the gas, which is going down, go boom, boom because of the gravity, then the scale should decrease according to them. It doesn't.
Yeah, it increases. The weight increases, not decreases. They need it to decrease. And this is what they try to do is they try to jump to water, right? And say things have buoyancy in water. Yeah, but because it's a more dense medium. But you can weigh water without a lid on the container. You can't weigh gas without a lid on the container. That means gas is going up. Do you know what I mean? Not down, not weight. It can't be done. It's like, I don't know if we'll ever get through to these people. You can't weigh a gas because it doesn't have weight. End of story. Gases don't have weight, but they need air to have weight. Because how they describe a helium balloon going up is the weight of their atmosphere is coming down, right, displacing the helium balloon up. Like what that actually is if you take a glass half filled with water and you pour some sand into the glass, then what will happen is the sand will go to the bottom and the water will go up above the sand. It lift the water level, right? But the sand will be at the bottom. But for them, air must be like that sand. If you understand. So for them, like things can't weigh more in a vacuum. They just can't. They have to have them weigh less. Otherwise, they have absolutely no claim. There's no point in saying buoyancy. Buoyancy is not weight. Buoyancy is not weight. Buoyancy is not a linear downward vector force on a scale. That's weight. And if you don't have that, which they don't, then they don't have a claim. It's that simple.
Okay, well, we may as well, as always, it doesn't matter who we're covering, we will send our love their way. So if you're currently one of the 95 people watching, woohoo, by the way, thank you for sharing, that's watching. I'll do this call to action for a couple of minutes just so that people can go along to the videographer, let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So this is called Curio Ed. Hopefully I'm saying your name of the channel right. But yeah, pop along. There's a link going by in the live stream chat right now. And just give them a polite hello. Let them know we sent you. If you like what you saw, subscribe, obviously. But the idea being, large or small videographer, were they to make a response, we would hope they would put a link to our video, helping us in the algorithmic love, regardless if this particular YouTuber is smaller than we are. Not often the case, but he should be offered the same assistance in YouTube as we would hope to receive from our opponents when they cover us. there you go. Hopefully that call to action's given you enough time to pop along to this YouTuber. Let me know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me in their comment section, boosting his video in the popularity and all that stuff that we would hope to get and never do. Done. Okay. Was there anything else on this particular gas go down, go boom, boom garbage?
Well, there was a presentation concerning this and gravity, and concerning ether and dielectric acceleration on ball busters on Saturday. So it's going to be a double on those two topics on Saturday, and vacuum weights will be at the center of that presentation.
But for them, or your response to them?
Well, it'll be vacuum weights debunking both of their claims, both gravity and the claim of dielectric acceleration.
Oh, I see. So when we do, what you're saying is on Saturday, are we doing ball busters on Saturday?
Well, as far as I know, yeah, it's happening, as far as I know.
And when we do, we'll be covering the gas go down, go boom, boom, because gravity pulls the gas down when it's produced in the sky. It isn't. It's produced on the ground and expands up. Nevertheless, you'll be covering that with this specific argument. That is to say, if you were to weigh an apple in a vacuum chamber and remove the gas that's going down, go boom, boom, because buoyancy, or whatever it is that they're claiming with their anti-flat earth rhetoric, then one would assume that the weight on the scale for the apple would decrease because there's no longer gas going down, go boom, boom, you've sucked it all out. When in reality, the weight of the apple increases.
Exactly, and we're also going to be debunking the claim of dielectric acceleration with that too, with some extra caveats.
Indeedy. And I wanted to ruin the mood for a flat earther, feeling quite pleased that he's among fellow flat earthers. He's finally on that table where not everyone else around the table is in the majority belief. That guy that I was talking about earlier, it was one of those few occasions where there's, 4 people on the table that are flat earthers and 2 people that aren't, along with everybody else who might be here in the conversation. But you know what I mean? There's very rare that that's the circumstance. And in that way, you do feel like, look, you've come out, you've pressed the flesh, you've come here to represent, you're a flat earth and you're proud to say it. You believe that there's been antiquitech that's been hidden from us because of some blacked out photos. But I'm not going to link, or should have, maybe I should have, the fact that gas don't go down, go boom, boom, but needs to in an electric force idea, belief that you've got, because it's not comporting with the physical reality of the nature of the world that we do experience, which is unfortunate, but, I wasn't going to take that away from him. But moving forward, I think we have to,
Well, the difference we have between us and the people who follow this show and are part of it is, and the majority of the rest of flat earth, is that we don't have a belief that a measurement is a measurement.
Perfect segue.
A measurement is a fact.
Yeah, absolutely perfect segue. So that's what I started out this live show with, and I'm going to start to tail off the show with it as well. Which is to say, moving forward on Flat Earth Debate, that is the rhetoric that we are going to be moving forward with. Yeah? Hashtag measured flat Earth. We will stamp out the notion of having to put forward conspiratorial nonsense ideas of Earth being flat with a belief that you may have held up until this point. Because we can prove it now. More so than ever, we can show how Earth is measured flat. You don't need to know about 9/11. You don't need to know about vaccines. You don't need to know about any of these conspiratorial subjects that may be mainstream or maybe not. You don't need them. You can understand how Earth is measured flat. And that's what we'll be pushing moving forward. So that moving forward, we're not just regurgitating in an endless cycle the feast of nonsense, false dichotomy arguments that leave us arguing with globe believers about how, no, it's a downward force of electric incoherent dielectric acceleration towards the Earth because of the ether, versus, no, gas go down, go boom, boom. Gas factories in the sky pouring out all the gas coming down like rain. Yeah, those false dichotomy arguments can end pretty quickly if you just know it's measured flat. And when your opponent says, you're a flat earther, what makes you think it's flat? I don't think it's flat. I know it's flat. That's how it's measured. If that's your response, you'll lose a lot less loved ones, friends, family members. Why? Well, because there's nothing contentious about you telling them how it is, rather than telling them they haven't got an open enough mind. So that's going to be our focus on Flat Earth debate. And I hope you all join in sharing that sentiment around by smashing that share button as that permeates our way through our community. And in that, there'll be a section of our community that will be left behind, left in the tatty old-fashioned ways of telling people how to debunk heliocentric garbage with complex notions of how orbital motion's not working and how they don't really line up with the lights that we do see, or how boats might be vanishing because of diffraction limits. All that old dusty old crap that we used to use is all superseded by just telling people it's measured flat and showing them how it's measured flat. Now, that's not to say we won't cover all the stuff that is useful in terms of understanding how to spot logical fallacies, or how rhetorical the arguments are going to be from your opponent if you are arguing this, or how the notions of the world in the way it's been formed on a flat plane with the measurements to prove it comes to pass on the maps and the systems that make the maps, also proving Earth is flat. So all those complex subjects, obviously, we're going to still cover on a daily basis, but I feel that the focus on each and every show should be to point out that we can prove it now. You've come to this show, if you're a newbie, if you're amongst the 90-odd people that are watching, and you're going, what's all this about? Well, you might ask yourself, what is your golden, or silver bullet, for Flat Earth? Well, knowing how it's measured, knowing how it's navigated, knowing how the grid system's developed, all of these things required Earth to be measured flat, and in order to utilise those systems, you must measure Earth flat. That's how it's done. Confidence inspiring,
Well,
I hope.
I was just going to say, I think it's important for us to, and I know you might say no or decry this, but I think it's important for us to point out the fraud and just logically fraudulent things our opposition comes up with. Because, like, in the end of the day, when push comes to shove with someone who has a PhD, where do they turn? They end up turning to someone like Fight the Flat Earth or Ruhif or Blue Marble Science, one of these people. Because at the end of the day, these people are the best the globe have got. The PhDs now are not the best. They're the best at pumping out the canon and the rhetoric, but they're not the best when it comes to actually addressing topics. What you need for that is the Ruhifs and the Blue Marble Sciences and the Fight the Flat Earth, who just make stuff up, right? And put out videos, like McCune and all these. They put out arguments and videos that are obviously flawed. They're either fraudulent or they're logically flawed. You know what I mean? Where they get their conclusions from a point of illogic. For instance, with Ruhif, he brought out a video attacking Jerome Campanella or something recently, and I could go through, and me and Adam watched the video and a couple of the rest of us on one of the after shows, and I could go through all the problems with the video, or I could just start at the very start, which was he first needed an elevation, and the elevation Ruhif got from Google Earth, right, was 7 meters. Now Google Earth get their elevations from Ordnance Survey, right, data that has been surveyed by actual surveyors. So that's 7 meters on Google Earth, right? But Ruhif done his own ad hoc nonsense, his own version of surveying, and came up with 14.7 meters, right? That's more than double what's on Google Earth. So I've spent up until Saturday, I spent about 3 or 4 days asking him, trying to get, right, the Ordnance Survey data for his exact coordinates. And he will not give it. He'll give it for the nearby benchmark. He'll give it for this and that. He will not give me the Ordnance Survey data, elevation data for his coordinates. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is not to have a personal pick at Ruhif in this show. The reason I'm saying that is we should be pulling apart this nonsense, because this is the nonsense that fools people out there. This is the nonsense that people realize what's going on. They won't understand the processes. Ruhif will come across, or someone like him will come across as if they are very knowledgeable and know what they're talking about, when what they're doing is complete nonsense. The way he came up with if you saw Nathan how he came up with his 14.7 meter elevation, I mean, it's completely fraudulent. And the fact that he will not give me, I could go and look and get his coordinates and go looking for the Ordnance Survey data, but I don't need to. All I need to know is all I need to know is that Ruhif will spend 3 days not giving it to me, because he knows it's going to say about 7 meters. But he won't tell his audience that, or someone new. He'll say nothing to that person and give the person the impression that he's giving them all the information they need, and he was at an elevation of 14.7 meters that he surveyed. You know what I mean? This is the problem. We have these people out there who are pretending to be things they're not, and they're fooling the general public with fraud. That's all it is. Finish. Sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going to ask, is the 14.7 meters above surface level?
Yeah, it's in relation to sea level.
Yes.
Yeah. That he'll hand wave. That he tries to hand wave. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's reluctant to give you the height with respect to sea level. That would be with respect to a horizontal plane of reference.
Yes.
Proving a flat Earth.
Yes, I totally agree. Right, no argument there. Right, but for the average, I'm talking about for the average everyday, as Joe Coffey, as QE calls it. Joe Coffey doesn't know, and Betty Breadmaker, as QE says, the average everyday people, they don't pay attention to these kind of things. It's not registering with them that sea level means sea horizontal. It means it's a horizontal plane. That's not registering with them. All that's registering with those people is that there's this guy who seems to really know his stuff, and he's giving them a load of maths and all the rest of it, and he must be right. That's all that's going on in their heads. When what's really going on is complete fraud from Ruhif. Total fraud. A surveying fraud from the very start. As I said, I didn't even need to go any further than his elevation. Just, he won't give me the elevation. Why won't he give me the OS data for his actual coordinates? Because he knows it's going to match Google. And I don't worry. I've said to him that would be sea level. That would be you'll need a flat Earth for that, and he just hand waves it because that's all he can do with that.
I like to really rub those sorts of things in his face. I mean, he can just hand wave it, and yeah, no worries. You know, it's the same with me explaining that if you explain that Earth is measured flat to a family member, then they can just hand wave it. But that's on them, isn't it? It's very much easier to hand wave and ridicule and be annoyed at someone that tells you that you're not open-minded enough because they've told you about how a load of globe claims don't quite work properly if you have a really comprehensive understanding of sky movement that's being presented to you on a little crappy video on YouTube. Therefore, you don't understand Earth's flat, you very closed-minded fool. Yeah, those people get annoyed with you real quick. But hand waves? Yeah, hand wave it. You tell me how you can reference your height above a globe Earth, and I'll be interested to hear it. And if you're going to tell me that surface level and sea level aren't level because they're referenced to a sphere, then how do you reference your surface level and eye level in your maths if they're bent? Answer, you don't. Those geometric principles hold true in globe maths. Therefore, level is level. And the surface level in your maths is the surface level, and it's flat. In your maths and ours and the world, because Earth is flat and that's how it's measured.
Or when it does register, am I coming in?
Breaker. Yes, Neil. Yes.
I would say when it does register, like when it registered, as I explained to my son, he's studying, you can't answer me for the 2 points in the sky, and walk away. Very painful.
Okay. I mean, like I say, if that was preceded by you telling him how Earth's measured flat, and you're offered up and affirming the consequent fallacy of antipodal positioning with northern and southern hemispheres and axial positioning that also requires a flat plane to describe with an axis, then, you know, advanced flat earthers who visit flat earth debate will be able to point that out to them. But nevertheless, at the point, if it was to precede it, that you told your son that Earth is measured flat and described how it's measured flat, what rebuttal does he have beyond the Ruhif hand wave? The answer is nothing, Neil. Now, they can affirm the consequent to you until they're blue in the face. A fallacy is better than nothing. But it doesn't adjust the fact that Earth's measured flat. even if you don't point out that the axis of rotation requires a horizontal plane of reference to describe it also.
That's correct.
Indeed it is. Like I say, we should be starting from this point forth, moving into we're going into 2024. Is that right? The Earth's measured flat. That should be our starting point for all of our arguments moving forward. We can prove it. What's that? Flat earther? Ha ha ha. Yeah, I can prove it though. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can, yeah. That's how it's measured. Here's an example. Here's how you can save your life at sea with that methodology. Here's your own maths using it flat. Isn't that funny? Ha ha ha. Yeah, I can prove it. And I'll be pointing that out from this moment forth, and hopefully it'll encourage people to share the show. 96 people haven't quite tipped over 100 on this show. Please share the show. If you're watching and you're amongst the 96 people, there's a good chance that you've only come because someone else has shared it to you. So smash that share button, hit the like button, all that good stuff.
Nathan, I brought my son up because it did register. He understands it, but he's still in serious pain.
Ah, that's what you can do. I mean, it's obviously a bit harder to say share your pain when it's a relative, but share your pain you must. Earth is measured flat. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a massive thank you to all of you who smashed the share button, liked, commented, joined as a member, hit the super chat and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Massive thanks to today's Discord and G+ panels, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!